Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you can hear me. I'm Muhammad Faisal. I am Senior Security Engineer at Qatar Aluminium in Qatar. And the topic which I am going to present is OT cybersecurity challenges and solutions. Go with our agenda. The OT, which is operations technology, its challenges as compared to IT. We'll look what's the difference between IT and OT challenges related to cybersecurity. Then recent 2021 major OT cyber attacks. Then major solutions to OT security challenges. The pandemic challenges for the to overcome pandemic challenges, the remote workforce solutions for OT, NMS kind of silver bullet for OT security, Industry 4.0, which is next generation challenges, and the last is key takeaway. So let's compare operations technology and information technology challenges. In IT, if there will be any cybersecurity incident, there could be some financial loss or reputational loss. But in operations technology, in case of cybersecurity incident, the worst case scenario is loss of life, which could be of thousands, loss of property, as well as there could be the impact on environment. And we'll see some examples how the damage or impact could go up to this extent. In IT, the priority is confidentiality, integrity, and availability in most of the times, or sometimes there could be different priorities. But mostly in operations technology, the priority number one is safety, and then availability, integrity, and confidentiality is the last priority. MAO, maximum allowable outage, could be hours in IT, whereas in operations technology, MAO, maximum assets are several years because there are big plants, turbines. Enterprises, whereas in operations technology mostly there are large enterprise. In IT, the worst case scenario could be the server shutdown or server is down for some time. But in operations technology, there could be the worst case scenario, plant shutdown. And as you know, the plant shutdown is a kind of projects where several companies join together to do plant shutdowns. And these are the projects of the plant is shut down due to any cyber attack. There could be a catastrophic impact on the plant production, profitability, etc. So just to understand further the difference between OT and IT and challenges of OT, I have presented recent incidents of cybersecurity in OT environment, and these are related to 2021. Number one is Florida water treatment plant contamination. It was a cyber attack, and there was a normal process of adding sodium hydroxide into the water. And under normal circumstances, there are 100 parts per million, but after the cyber attack, the criminals gave the quantity of 11,000 as compared to just 100 per million, 11,000 parts per million. And you can well imagine if this water could have been distributed to the city, so how many, what could be the impact of this incident. Fortunately, this incident was discovered in time, and that USA, and due to ransomware, in many of the states in USA. Then you would have heard about Stuxnet, and there are many new variants, and most of the time the target is Iranian nuclear facilities. And this time also in 2020 there was a new variant of Stuxnet which disrupted the nuclear power. So impact could be like Fukushima or Chernobyl kind of nuclear radiation, uh, uh, and there could be a catastrophic impact on population of the city, of the country, or maybe to the neighboring countries as well. Then there is another nuclear power plant in India was attacked through the it was it had to disrupt its operations for some time, and the cause was again this cyber attack. So from here you can well imagine that in case of cyber attack on operations technology, the impact could be loss of life, not even those who are working within the facility or factory, rather those who are surrounding or in the neighboring areas. And as you can know that operations technology is used in factories, power plants, industrial systems, industrial areas. So the impacts are really huge. So what are the major solutions to OT security challenges? So again, if I will say one line or one phrase, so that is defense in depth, layered security. So as you can see, there are multiple layers, and we have divided these levels into different levels: 0, is going to the controllers, and level 1 is the mostly in our IT environment, one firewall with three zones or three legs or multiple legs. One is internet, second leg is for DMZ, third leg is for our enterprise or maximum, fourth leg is for user. But here you can see there are multiple firewalls in every level, and then there is another industrial DMZ or IDMZ, where the integration between enterprise network and industry network is done. For example, for patch management, for remote jump servers, remote gateways, we'll discuss in details, reverse proxy, antivirus servers, and so on. So in this way, we have divided our whole network into different levels, and most of the time every level is protected with a different firewall. And for example, this firewall control is from IT, whereas this firewall control is from OT. In the worst case scenario, if this firewall is compromised, the second firewall will be still working and protecting the rest of the network. And then this is called network segregation and segmentation. And then we will further divide the plant or factory into different zones, cells, areas, and types of plants. So we will divide them into different segregated networks protected by a firewall. And in case one area or one ports or multiple systems, we can different other HMIs or SCADA or ICS systems or PLCs. Then comes another solution is the data diode, which is also called unidirectional gateway, and as it can be understood from the name, that these are for unidirectional from outside to inside the plant network. So that's why most of this only from outbound, and that is mostly for the monitoring purposes. Wherever we want some analog data to be monitored on our dashboards for different operators, whereas the system is very sensitive, we deploy data diode, and data can only be transferred into one direction. And this is not just a firewall, because firewalls are software based, whereas these data diodes are physical devices. For example, fiber optic, the optic signal can travel only in one direction in one cable, so they only use that unidirectional one optic cable through which the light optic signal can only be transferred in one direction. Then another useful component is lock box, and through lock box it's again a physical connection. Most of the time some connections will be locked, means disconnected, and in case of any support, this connection will be opened, and at that time the support or vendor or engineer who is working from outside will provide the support, and once the support is done, the lock will be locked again, or the connection will be disconnected. And then the air gapped networks, this is the extreme level of security, where the network is air gapped from other networks or internet. And air gap doesn't mean really the air gap, but it means that there will be no routable protocol, or there will be no IP trip the turbine, or it will trip the burners who is providing safety systems should be able to trip the plant or components in a worst case scenario. And last is the physical security, which is mostly already present in most of the industrial environment, because the factory is located within the industrial area, and industrial area is secure enough, and then there is a separate security perimeter of the plant, and so on. So for when it comes to Wi-Fi, then what happens most of the time when cranes are moving and other moving objects need connectivity, so cable is not a good idea for that. Because of their mobility, cable used to break, and there is some issues. So Wi-Fi is the answer. And then during the deployment of Wi-Fi, people think that since we are physically secure, no one else from outside will come and hack the Wi-Fi. But this is again false sense of security now after the introduction of drones and 5G drones. So it's really easy from someone for a person or hacker just sitting few kilometers away from the factory to just fly a drone, 5G drone, and detect wherever Wi-Fi signals are good, land that drone on the rooftop of the factory, and start sniffing the Wi-Fi signals and start try to attack the Wi-Fi. So again, the physical security, we don't know that in future what kind of physical intrusion detection system we would need to detect this kind of attack. And if we talk about offensive security, I don't know what kind of offensive security attack. So let's move to pandemic challenge. For sure supported by multi-factor authentication industrial network. And from jump servers they will connect to their remote desktops, engineering workstations, and from there they can access the other components of industrial control systems and provide the support. That's the easiest solution that is not connected to the network. So for these kind of systems, there is another solution of digital helmet. As you can see in the image, this digital helmet with camera, mic, headphones, and wearables like Google Glass is available. So what a technician will do, he will wear this helmet, will go to the plant, to the screen, the actual industrial valve, motor, or other boiler, and that camera and this digital helmet will be connected to the internet, and the person providing the remote support, who is sitting on the other corner of the world, can see what this technician can see, and he can instruct him, okay, do this, click this, move this, close this lever, close this valve, and so on. So this is really a handy tool, especially for remote support to the air gapped solution. So in this way, the internet access is limited to this digital gadget helmet, and nothing is connected to the system. Then comes temporary serial to internet connector. Sometimes some direct work is required, remote support is required on the PLC, which has only the serial port. So this connector can be connected temporarily on that serial port, which is connected to internet or ethernet, and again remote person can provide the support remotely and fix the things in the PLCs which are connected through serial port. Then there is another solution, is the configuration replication, where the replicas of the systems are there in the, for example, industrial DMZ, and that someone can connect internet, we can monitor, we can support the detection that if any connection is open, an alert can keep going on our SIM, so that no one will forget to disconnect the link. Once the task is over, that link can be disconnected. My favorite solution, which is a kind of silver bullet for OT security, is network monitoring systems. What it does, it simply the sensors to the network. If you can see this diagram, it's a complex, for example, operations technology network. In this blue devices are the sensors. So these sensors can be just connected to the switches, network switches, and they will just take the passive traffic by opening the mirroring, by mirroring a port or tapping a port. So the traffic which is passing through this switch will be excuse me, the whole traffic of a switch will be mirrored to this sensor. There are different brands like the leader is Mozumi, and then there was a Centrio which has been taken over by Cisco. They have rebranded it with the new name CyberVN, and there is another brand, Dragos. So these sensors will receive all the traffic passing through the switch, and you have to tap the traffic of all those switches where you think that traffic should be monitored. So this network monitoring system, vulnerability management, and intrusion detection systems. So how asset management? So all the communication is going through the switch, and these network monitoring systems are tapping the traffic. So they will see what is the source IP, what's the destination IP. So they will start building up the database as and when they are collecting the information through the traffic. Then from the packets they will know, okay, they will do the device fingerprinting, that okay, they are talking on this port, their source packet is this, destination device is this. So in this whole configuration management database, that okay, you have these many devices, these brands, these models, and this is just through that passive monitoring. And why we are doing this passive network monitoring? Because the biggest challenge and issue in an industrial environment is that we cannot do much changes, because OEM or the original vendors has set up the whole system, they have locked it, and number one, it cannot be changed. If it is changed, it's a very lengthy process of site acceptance testing or factory acceptance testing, and there will be a lot of financial cost involved for changes. So for that purpose, we don't do much changes in an industrial network, because again, as you uh, devices, and from there we can see that okay, these are the devices, and then there will be a whole network diagram is made in it, that which device is connected to which other device, and which device is communicating to which other devices. There will be a whole network device built based on and by identifying the device, it will be divided into levels as well, which we have just discussed. And by the way, these levels can be shown here as well. This is level 0, this is level 1, 2, 3 and 4, and so on and so forth. And based on that, it can be identified that this device should not be in this level, this should be in another level, or so on and so forth. So in this way we will know the asset management, our all the assets, we will know that which asset we have in our environment. Then comes the vulnerability management. Since the systems versions and operating system versions are also visible through the traffic passing through this switch, so based on that, this device will let us know that these are the vulnerable systems, operating systems, or software which is in our environment. And based on the protocol and traffic, they have predefined signatures from different OT systems providers, and based on that they will know, okay, this kind of traffic is going on, it means that this vulnerable protocol is being used, or vulnerable systems are being used. So in this way we will also know that okay, these are the vulnerabilities we are having for these many assets. Then comes the intrusion detection systems also. Again, the traffic is passing through the switch, and if there will be any malicious traffic, any attack is there, again that will also be analyzed based on predefined signature as well as an abnormal behavior. So again this system will alert us that these systems, some suspicious traffic is being initiated or being targeted on these multiple systems. So we can take corrective action. Then this, as we can see, there is development in computer. Now latest is Industry 4, which is coming today. So this Industry 1, this is history 1700, 1800 and 1900. Now we are going into Industry 4.0. So obviously Industry 4.0 is also bringing next technology is coming to Industry 4.0, machine to machine, 3D printing very much utilized in Industry 4.0, advanced robotics is there, big data analytics is also and in industrial environment where analog data is there, so big data is very much there in the industrial environment. Internet of things, these are not just internet of things, since it's an industrial environment, so these are IIoT, industrial internet of things. So instead of controllers and other traditional devices, those are being replaced with IIoTs, sensors, actuators and controllers. So all of these RFID technologies, cognitive computing, artificial intelligence, and then last but not the least is cybersecurity of everything. So these are all next generation challenges we have to overcome, obviously through traditional cybersecurity technologies as well as specific to industrial cybersecurity technologies which we discussed in our previous slides. So for cloud computing, obviously cloud security is there, a lot of cloud security solutions and cloud security cloud computing providers has provided cybersecurity solutions as well, which can be utilized for mobile technologies. MDMs are already there, we can utilize them into our industrial environment as well. So just to save the time, I will quickly move forward. So the key takeaway for OT cybersecurity is visibility and monitoring. Why? Because we don't have much liberty of prevention, protection, or blocking or disabling, because it's always there is a risk that okay, because of any reason, if you have blocked any traffic, visibility of all of your assets and their importance and classification. of all of your crown jewels. Obviously, once you will do the classification, you will know which is the critical asset, which is important, what's the severity of your assets, and you will prioritize the security as per the priority or severity or criticality. Visibility of all of your vulnerabilities of your assets, and as I just mentioned, we are using network monitoring systems, especially operations technology, which even tells us about vulnerabilities of our systems. They have also modules for scanning, like we are used to for our normal vulnerability scanners and like Tenable Nessus. That is called smart pooling. So those are very basic scans also available for vulnerability scannings and patch levels, etc. So we can use that as well. Then comes the visibility of attacks or intrusions. Again, we have seen that these NMS network monitoring systems can tell us about any suspicious, malicious traffic packets, also protocols. Visibility and intelligence of threats to your systems and organization, similar organizations and industry, similar industry or the country. So there is really need of threat intelligence. If there comes the role of certs or country or national level certs, where they are collecting the logs of, for example, in our Qatar, we have national cert like QCert, and so they are also collecting critical logs from all of their critical infrastructure, critical organizations, and in case of any threat, they let every constituent and every member know that these kind of indicators of compromise should be verified, so that we will know that okay, if there is any threat to our industry or organization. Visibility of your competencies and capabilities, so that you can properly utilize them and defend, use them to most of them has been addressed by our network network monitoring system. VN, these are the uh, solutions available in the market, which will do these majority of these tasks for you. So I hope I was able to complete my presentation within team. Let's give 15 minutes for questions answers. If you have any question, let me open my application. If there is any question I have received. Very good question. First question is, how do OT security differs from the traditional penetration testing career? Very good question. Yeah. Penetration testing, very important point. We don't do penetration testing in OT environment like we do in the IT environment, because again, as I mentioned, the key here is we are not doing very active controls in OT environment, because as you can well imagine, as we discussed, if there is any change, if there is any false positive which has blocked something, so there are impacts. So in case of penetration testing, as we just mentioned, our systems are legacy. Those are very old. The hardware don't have much resources like memory processing. Maybe if you will do some penetration testing scans, it will make the system unresponsive. System is unable to do so. We will not do a traditional penetration testing on the production OT environment. What is recommended, that we can do only on the test environment. So during shutdowns, during factory acceptance testing or site acceptance testing. So the very good opportunity window we have during the shutdowns, in the environments where are periodic annual shutdowns, plant shutdowns. During that time, we can do penetration tests on paths. Same is for the penetration. Path to become an OT security engineer. Again, an interesting question, and I am really pleased to know my audience having such an interesting questions. So, an OT security engineer could be the person who is an OT engineer and then which has moved into the domain of OT security. Since it's an emerging, since OT was bit late in this cyber security, so there are not so many professionals available in this field, and there is a great demand. And keeping in view the criticality and sensitivity of the OT environment, it's really demanding to have skilled and experienced professionals. So obviously most of the time it is preferred that someone is from OT security, from OT operations technology, normal engineer, electrical engineer or electronics engineer or some mechanical engineer who has worked on OT systems, and then he moved to the security. So this is preferred, but anyhow, due to the demand, right now they are there people are getting jobs who has moved from IT security into the OT, because anyhow there is a saying that if you want to be a visionary in OT, just predict what's happening in IT, because if you will say something related to IT now, people will first oppose you. Oh, this cannot happen in OT. But after 5 years, everything will move to the same things, which is for just as an example, Industry 4.0. The things like robotics, cognitive computing, artificial intelligence, cloud, mobile, these are 5 or 10 years old technologies in IT. Certifications also, GICSP is one of the certification from 3. So you can go for this standard certification as well, IEC 62443. And you can start because obviously an organization, industrial organization, has its IT also, their ERPs, their websites, their emails, everything is there. So you may start you may join that organization as IT security professional, and then start because as you can see, the networks are in most of the traditional networks, OT and IT networks are mixed at many points. And then you will have a flavor of OT. You can move forward, you can have understanding, and actually there is a totally different culture in OT. Many things you are so comfortable in IT, but in OT world they will start looking at you, what you have said to them. uh, so can you list down, the third question is, can you list down security solution in general recommended to be implemented in OT industry? So this is actually, I tried to list down the security solutions in general which are recommended to implement in OT security, and this is my this slide. So, and as you can see, cybersecurity solutions are people, process, and technology. So it includes people, process, technology, almost everything. So dividing your network into these levels, which is called network segments, and doing air gapped environments. So this is one of the solution, dividing them into different further zones, cells, areas, multiple firewalls, jump servers, data diodes, lock boxes. So, and then the silver bullet, which I have just mentioned in my later slides, network monitoring systems like Nozomi, Dragos, CyberVN, which is combination of at least three of these solutions: passive network monitoring, which actually does passive network monitoring, asset management, vulnerability management, and intrusion detection of solutions. So obviously other security solutions which we commonly use in IT, we are well versed with them. For example, I just mentioned, in case we will go for mobile devices, you wanna control your factory through the mobile, then you must have MDM, which we are already using in IT. Then, for example, if you are using Wi-Fi, you should have Wi-Fi, and the network controls like NAC, network access controls. Environment. Otherwise, blocking and disabling is not very much to the network, and you will just detect and will take action. Your same solutions, yeah, same solutions are very much required in the OT environment also, because it's passive working. Then deception technology recently, where there are agents. Now the problem with agents also, that most of the time, as I mentioned, that lifespan of OT assets is very long. So you will have legacy devices, hardware which don't have much memory, resource, storage. So you will not have luxury of having a lot of agents on your environment, on your systems. So otherwise, if you have that luxury of the agents, then you may have this deception technology, where someone will try to this mimikatz, or someone will try to dump the credentials of privileged accounts, and you will be alerted. Then these honeypots are very much famous because again it's a detective control. Honeypots, you and now different vendors are offering these PLCs and controllers, OT kind of their profile also, personalities, OT personalities also in honeypots. Yani the honeypot will look like a controller or SCADA system, and you will be alerted if someone will try to access that honeypot. So I hope we have. So that's it. So if there is any other question, I think time is also finished. Thank you very much. Really nice questions.